Would you rather do like 1,000 webinars, and grow your business, or would you rather do 1,000 horseback rides and enjoy some time in the country on your horse?
1,000 horseback rides, my butt would hurt so bad. My horse would be upset too. She'd be like, what is wrong with you?
That's hilarious.
No, I horseback riding I do because it like feeds my soul and my spirit. I do my business because I want to help others. Me riding my horse doesn't really help anybody but me. So I think I would want to do both, but not in a condensed amount of time.
Yeah, but if you don't ride the horse and fuel your soul, then you're not going to be able to do your best you can at fueling everybody else's soul and passions and helping them grow their business. So it goes hand in hand. So
when I'm cranky, my husband's like, "Will you please go to a horse barn? Like,
go ride a horse."
I come back a whole different person. It's like when he goes hunting. So yeah,
that is awesome. No, I love that, and I love to see you tie those two together. And you talk a lot on your socials about just your personal life sprinkled in with business, obviously, and I think that's important. On that social to build your personal brand as well as your brand, like your business brand. Is that intentional on your part, helping people to grow and learn more about you from that perspective? Or is that just like, hey, I just feel like sharing this because it's fun?
I think that my marketing team would like me to be more intentional with anything that I put on social media, but I am a little more like, well, at least the cowboy term would be like a fart in the wind, where I'm like, I'm just going to say this today, and I do it. So, and then they'll go back to the marketing plan and be like, but you were supposed to say that instead. So I'm a little squirrel. I just put out what's going on. I also put out things that kind of are going on in my life because I most often get people reaching out that are going through similar things.
Yeah.
Like I share a lot about my marriage journey, especially kind of on our anniversary and around that time. And I always have women reaching out that have gone through similar things. So I just believe in vulnerability and honesty. So that's why my content is all over the place.
So what has that been like, that journey for you as a entrepreneur, business owner, thing of that? Like, it's an idea here and then it becomes an actual business here. And, it's centered around, at one point in time, it was centered around like pretty specific not one product, but one thing. And then it's kind of expanded from there. Can you walk me through a little? I didn't put this in my pre-notes to you, but I want to know because I'm nosy and I care. And I think you're awesome. Tell me a little bit about that for you, though.
Kind of that process. So, I was an insurance agent and I got started using, obviously CRMs and systems and got really good at one. And I kid you not, the reason I finally said yes to helping people with this from an official capacity, because I was just planned on being an insurance agent. That was the plan. I said yes because I really wanted a housekeeper and my husband didn't want to put it in our budget. And I was like, but all these agents are asking me to help them with their automation. So what if I just do that on the side and then I could pay for the housekeeper? And he's like, fine, stop pestering me. Because I'm like the opposite of Martha Stewart. I'm not domestic at all. I can cook. That's about it.
That's awesome.
And so I got my first housekeeper and it was a colleague of mine who had been asking me for help. And I was like, dude, I've never done this before. And he's like, I trust you. Let's just give it a shot. So it was a side gig that turned into, a year and a half ago, I sold my insurance agency and this is all we do. And we have 14 team members and we've, helped just under 800 agencies nationwide. And so
unreal.
The journey of that, when you say it feels like kind of a new company still, the company's 6 years old, but I've only owned and focused on this company by itself for the last year and a half. So it does feel in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it does.
Well, and you said something about your team and the people that you have working for you. I love all of those people too. So not only do I love Mariah, but I love all of her team.
That's right. And we've gotten a chance to get to know them through SCO and through different events and things. And it's been fantastic to see, like, and that's got to be cool for you as a former, agency owner myself, like seeing little mini versions of you out there, people that you've trained and people that, even to teach you along the way, but seeing yourself come to life in it, that's got to be cool for you.
Yeah, I would say I don't know if I wrap it up as like cool or exciting. I just get nervous. I just want I'm kind of a perfectionist. And so if I don't feel like it's perfect, then I get down on myself, right? So it's like this constant challenge of trying to stay positive and having confidence in the things we're helping people with. Yes, I see my several versions of myself and the clients that we get to work with, which is so much fun. And it has been one of the most challenging and demanding, like, efforts because I didn't come from the tech industry, and now that's what I spend my life in. I always joke I was like the last person to join Facebook because I'm a country girl. Like I ride horses and fish and camp, and I didn't grow up around technology, but I absolutely love it and being able to help the business owners. So cool, yes. Exciting, yes. Terrifying, definitely.
100%. And so
Very
early on, and even now, fast forwarding 6 years into it, you said, what are some of those things that agencies were coming to you for when it came to the sales cycle, automation, those types of things that make you light bulb go off? Like, I need to help these people. And then, like, even fast forwarding to now, what are they still coming to you with?
Yeah, so I would say that there's just so much manual work. There seems to be just a very big lack of knowledge, like of what's available to business owners in general. And I used to think it was just insurance, but I mean, I know a lot of other business owners, and every time I talk to them, this is pretty consistent. So, I've said this many times where technology companies, like Vertafore and others, build amazing tech. Like they're here and the user is like here, and they're aware of maybe, 5% of what it does. The systems do. And not to any one fault, but they're building their businesses, right? They're working on the day to day. And so the thing that they come to us, honestly, that they come to us the most for is like advice. And then, of course, they're looking to streamline their operations, be more efficient. They know they're leaving opportunity on the table, and they just don't know like how to fix that. So a lot of what we do now is a lot of advising, coaching, like ongoing, recommendations and building like custom solutions, things like that. But they are usually coming like, I don't know how to fix this. That's usually their issue.
And so the thing that I say a lot, and we say a lot at Vertafore, and we found this to be true in a lot of surveys and whatnot, is people that have tech only use like 25% of it. I don't know the exact number, so don't quote me on that. Cadlet, I'm sorry if I screwed up your tech survey results. But, the 25% or 30%, whatever it might be, the point being they don't use even close to the full capacity of their tech stack, whatever that may look like. So you coming in and helping in that, and you probably still can't get them to 100%. And that's not a knock on you. It's just impossible.
Yeah. There's so many features in every technology, and some are more simple for sure. But the industry, at least in the insurtech space, what we're seeing too is there's starting to be a lot of overlap in systems. Like where before the insurtech, not from Vertafore's perspective, but there's been a lot of startups in the insurtech space over the last like 5 years. A lot of these companies are only 5 years old. And they used to do like one thing, and now they're doing like 2 and 3 and 5 things. And now you're able to consolidate some of your solutions and things like that too. But I agree, 25%, at least in my experience, I would say is probably generous. Depends on the system.
Sure.
People use more than 25% of their,
right.
IT system. It depends. But it's just a matter of, I don't know. I used to think that our business was so different than others, but I will tell you, I've met with agencies that have 1 employee.
Yep. And
maybe $1 million in premium on the books. And then I just recently, and we're continuously talking to this agency that has 150 million in premium on the books, and they have a lot of the same problems.
100%.
And I didn't know this from my business background. I did work in banking, and I had experience there with bigger organizations. But I'm telling you, they have a lot of the same problems. There's just more people that are affected.
100%. And we were having this conversation with another guest that when I was in agency world, my agency was a lot smaller than a lot of the agencies we work with. And, I think we had, 8 or 10 people at whatever at one given time that were full time. And I was very proud of that. I was like, man, I'm doing something here. And I was talking to them like, we had like 150 or whatever. And then they were kind of comparing, like, some of the problems are exactly the same. Like, just because they're a cruise ship and I'm a speedboat, I can pivot and do things quicker, but then also they have the money and the big time things and the name behind them or whatever. They can do things differently, but a lot of the same challenges, again, just more people. And so I can appreciate, that perspective and helping people understand that, because a lot of people, they won't adopt certain things. Like, oh, I'm too small, or I'm too large, or I have this, or my problems are unique. And it's like, there's not that many unicorns out there. Nobody's that unique, to their challenges are different than everybody else. We all challenge.
Yeah, the unique piece, like we could write a book on that. There's so many, businesses are businesses, and they have key components, and At least in my experience, I think that the reason that so many insurance agency owners think that they are so unique is because the vast majority of them deep down are really salespeople. Salespeople are attracted into the insurance space.
Yep.
And I know so many who used to be producers and open their own agencies are like, I don't want to share the commission, but they don't always understand what they're getting themselves into. I know I didn't when I started. I was very naive in what it took to run a business, and looking at it from a very different lens, right? So my operation is completely unique. I'm like, if you spend a little bit more time just kind of on the business acumen side, you kind of start to see that that's not always really that true. There are going to be things that will be unique to you, but the vast majority is pretty standardized. I mean, we're all selling the same product, right? We're all selling insurance.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of similarities. There's more similarities than there are, nuances.
I'm just kind of curious. This is off topic, or sort of my own question is, are you seeing a trend of things that people are coming to you for now of like, I need advice on this, but it's not something that you thought you would have to give advice on?
AI, because of course, who saw that coming, right? Well, at least I didn't, because I just didn't have my eye on it. More and more people looking for how AI can help to simplify what they have to do. And AI still, of course, needs a lot of prompting, a lot of guardrails. It's not the easiest process. Um, and I think what I didn't really think people would come to us for, really, when I got into the space, was overall kind of their entire tech stack and how that would actually interact with each other. So how do we make these systems? How do we make these selections of different platforms?
Yeah.
But AI is the one I just didn't see coming at all. And that is a continuous learning curve, because I swear, once a week, there's a new solution in place that nobody knew was going to be there.
Yep.
So that is the one that's really, really surprising to me, that I didn't foresee. And we're trying to figure out the best way to provide that advice, of course. But tech stacking is probably the most common
Sure.
that people are asking for. What should they be using across the board?
Well, so you started the name, accelerated automation. It sounds like you started with that idea of helping people with automation and that kind of thing. From like lead to close, or wherever you want to look at it. What parts of sales cycles or agencies still trying to do manually that surprise you that you're having to help people with, as far as that automation piece goes?
Follow up is just in general. It is amazing to me. It's not amazing to me. It's just, I feel like it's standard in business that most agency owners think that they just need more leads and more marketing and more leads. And when we get into their systems, they have so much opportunity within their own database that they're
100%.
just not working. So I think that, unfortunately, I think there's a shift towards being kind of transactional in the insurance space versus relationship. And I'll tell you, in the large agencies that we get to work with, which I never thought I would work with, if you asked me 5 years ago, agencies of this scope, they're good at the building value, building relationships, and that is still what makes things stick. You need to be easy to do business with, but I think they miss the bucket on follow-up, and they don't prioritize it. And when we help them automate that, that's when they see huge growth very quickly.
So,
Yeah.
so on that part, I mean, like, is that kind of that idea that they just aren't using the full capability of their tech that they have now?
Oh,
Could
yes.
be. Yeah, I think so. And then I also think, I'll let you answer because you're the guest here, but I also think some of it's just they're lazy in the fact that they don't want to follow up, or they feel like, oh, I got rejected once, I'm not going to follow up again. But back to the automation or like the tech question, I'll let you answer that part of it. But I think a lot of it has to do with laziness. And I'll say it.
I can't say no. I think there's agencies we've worked with where, like, we have one right now where he implemented a great piece of technology, and his staff took that as their ability to get on the phone and say, yeah, I'll send you a link, fill it out and send it back, and I'll do a quote. And they hang up the phone, and he's like, and my quoting volume's down. I'm like, well, yeah, what do you expect? You're sending a link and doing nothing else. And so there is an element of certain team members are lazy. I don't think agency owners are lazy. I've never
No. Yeah. But I think those that don't. But go ahead.
Yeah, but so I don't necessarily think that they're lazy to follow up. I personally think that there is a lack of conviction in believing, like, in your business. And I know this is something I struggle with sometimes too. My business coach is constantly helping me with that. But if you really truly believed, as an insurance agent, if you believe that you are the very best insurance provider in your town, your state, whatever, and if your customer doesn't do business with you, then they are worse off then it is your obligation to follow up, right? Because you're doing a disservice by not staying top of mind with that individual, and because you know this is the best place for them to have their insurance. So I think in sales in general, conviction is usually a little bit of the issue. And then just sheer volume. If your agency owner is throwing, 10, 20 leads at you every single day, you don't have time to follow up.
Yep.
That's why you got to automate it in some fashion. Now you can't 100% automate it away. You need to still reach out. But I think that's also why AI is making such a big push, and especially conversational AI. It
Yeah.
has really come a long way in the last year, and we're seeing more and more agents really being willing to give it a shot and try it out.
100%. And I went through a program, a sales school called Pace Setters, which was through State Auto. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not, but and I remember like one of the biggest premises they had obviously was, going out and prospecting, but then that follow up, and they had the stats that would back it up of if you follow up this many times, your percentage of close is this number, this many times it goes up to 50%. And I think it was up to like 9 follow-ups, and you have like an 80% chance of closing. And it's like, once you think about it like that, it's like, why wouldn't you follow up eight times, 9 times, whatever it might be? But even me personally, when I was going through that over a decade or more ago, it's like, nobody loves rejection. So you get rejected, and it's like, that's what I mean. I shouldn't say laziness, but that's that fear of rejection, and that like, oh no, or I don't want to bug them, or whatever. But again, to your point of automation, that follow-up could be an email, that follow-up could be a text message, it could be snail mail, it could be anything. It could be connecting with them on Facebook or social media of some sort. There's other ways than just picking up the phone and calling them or dropping in on them. And so you can automate almost every one of those things.
Yeah, I mean, in today's world, you can even automate the phone call to a point if you want, right? You could have your AI call and say, this is Mariah, I'm the AI assistant at Gates Insurance, and I'm just reaching out to connect you to our team member. Are you available for the next 5 minutes to talk to them, and have it transfer, right? You
Sure.
can do that. So even if you want to provide a very human experience, which is great, it is just hey, I've got you on the phone. Think of it as like a dialer, right? A dialer rolls through until someone picks up the phone, but it at least gets that warm introduction and handoff. So there's ways to do that. Agents have been doing that with virtual assistants overseas forever, right? And so now there's the ability to possibly do it through AI as well. Not even possibly, they're doing it now. But approach is important. You don't want it to sound like a robocall. You want to pick the right vendor so it has good voice, so it sounds real. But also acknowledging that really helps to lower people's guard, so it doesn't feel like you're trying to trick them.
Yeah, 100%. And like, you've worked with Agency Zoom, which is, in my opinion, one of our sexiest products, and I just absolutely love it. And when I talk to people, and I've got to hear your answer on this, but I'll talk to some agencies that have like, 3 sales funnel, like 3 pipelines or funnels or whatever. And I've talked to some like 25, in their sales funnel or whatnot. What's the craziest number, or the number you've seen average, and then the craziest number you've seen of follow-ups and pipeline, and you know what I'm talking about?
Oh gosh. So actually, this was just last week. One of our clients who we helped in 2023 started really getting a feel for the system. Agency Zoom is so flexible. And then he hired in some team members, and he hired a couple of team members that were like, okay, he was saying, this is your solution. You're going to be like our Agency Zoom person, right? He gave him kind of a crash course. And I met with him, last week, and he's like, I just want you to review and see where I'm at. And for example, just managing claims, which not every agency does this, but it's a great high touch experience for your client. When you send a message, it's automated. It says, you filed a claim. Did you hear from your adjuster yet? It's just a great warm touch point, helps build the relationship. And he had built 3, just for claims, 3 pipelines. From the sales side, every producer had their own sales pipeline, and their own exiting pipeline, and their own cross-sell pipeline, and their own referral pipeline. And if you think about from a use perspective, holy crap, like how do you keep track of all that stuff? But the reason was because the person he put in his agency who decided they were going to, mess with it and customize it, make it even better than what we gave them, which didn't happen, but was because he didn't understand that you can run multiple campaigns in different pipelines in different stages. You don't understand the triggers. So small gaps in knowledge can cause huge problems. His system needs a complete wipe. The data is a mess. His team isn't using it. They're fighting him back because it's too complicated. And we've started to say this a lot for our fractional COO clients is really good automation is extremely complex on the back end and very simple for the user on the front end. And that's how you know it's going to be good, because if you try to look at it from the back end, you're like, oh my God, what is going on here? But the user has a very easy experience. And if you want your team to use automation, it has to be easy.
And so what is the average you see of like how many buckets will a prospect go through on average? And what's your suggestion on that? Like once someone comes into the pipeline, how many, like what's your suggestion on something? What are you seeing on average?
So on average, I would say that we see like 4 stages when it comes to personal lines. Commercial is more like 7 stages, but the sales process is very different. So when you think about trying to take a CRM and create your automation and your stages of your process, you have to think about what are you trying to accomplish? Like what's happening in this stage and what are we trying to get them to next? So for example, in the commercial process, you have a new applicant. Well, you want to, of course, first contact them, make contact. So that would be your second stage. And then once you've contacted them, you need to gather information. So we call that the application stage. So you're gathering information, you're filling out applications and, collecting all of that, loss runs, all this different stuff. And then we have the underwriting stage. Well, you're not going to have that in personal lines pipeline because you can just get a quote, right? And submit it online. You don't have to, or through the carrier, you don't have to go through underwriting. Sometimes you do, but it's rare. But in commercial, we'll have an underwriting stage. Well, you might be in that underwriting stage for an hour. You might be in it for 2 weeks. And in our underwriting stage, we have automated communications that go out to your prospect. We do it every 3 days, just letting them know that we're still working on their request. So thank you for your patience. We're still working on your quote with our underwriter. We will reach back out if we have any updates. But it's to keep them warm because that process can be long. So and then it's very different in our Medicare build, right? We built out Agency Zoom for Medicare, and we also built it out for life insurance. In life insurance, we have, new contacted, we have a quoted stage because you quote, and then you take an application, then you might need medical records, and then you can actually bind the policy and, collect collect payment. So it really depends. But from an operational perspective, we're thinking about what's happening here. What is the messaging going to be? And what are we trying to move to next? Those are the things that we look at. Specifically with Agency Zoom too, we try to keep the number of pipelines, well, any system, we try to keep the number of pipelines as low as possible and have that really complex, powerful automation on the back end, again, for staff simplicity. So,
and most of those triggers in those, is it trigger an email to go out, or some of them go to a text message, or some of them go to trigger someone to make a phone call, or snail mail, pigeon?
Yeah, all those things can happen. So you can have automation that, for example, let's say you have a lead that's getting neglected and it's been sitting there for 30 days and you want your sales team manager to be notified. You could have an automated email go to your team manager or notification
just says call
inside of the system to be like, hey, this one's kind of aging out, right? Maybe check status, especially agencies who sell like really high premium, right? Clients, middle market, things like that. You want to keep an eye on it. The system can help you notify. But then from a perspective of what's going out, yes, you can send emails, text messages. Now, of course, only if you've gotten explicit opt-in from your prospect. Can you text them? Compliance, this is important. You also can get yourself in a lot of trouble with automation too, with that, compliance issue.
Sure.
So keep that in mind. You want to have it done well. But yeah, all of these reminders to call. I mean, even in Agency Zoom, you can prompt a call through AI from Gale, for example. They have an integration. You give it a task and Gale will call for you about a late payment, a renewal, a sale, whatever that is.
Well, I've even had some that say they trigger an automation to send out a handwritten letter, whatever, from Client Circle or whatever it might be, or whoever they use for that.
Yeah, the one we like is thanks.io. Yeah. That one works really good and it integrates really well. One of the things I love the most, and I'm an Agency Zoom nerd, that's my area. And we're helping people in more and more outside platforms, but they don't have the open API and the integration points that Agency Zoom has. It's really hard to beat it.
And I did not pay her to say that.
They don't have Service Center.
Yes, and that was a newer thing. That is its
own product. Vertafore could split it, literally. Split it. If they do this, I want a kickback, right?
You got it.
Split it and have Service Center and sales. It is its own system. And
it's a game changer.
Unique.
Yeah.
So unique. Yeah.
It's a game changer. And so working with agencies, obviously you work probably predominantly with independent agents, but I know you work with some captives as well. Or I've heard some captives that work with you, exclusives, however you want to call them. Would you see a difference in working with, like, whether it's mindset or just flat out differences in working with the exclusive captive agents works versus the indie agent.
Yes, I see a huge difference. And honestly, right now our client base is completely split. I was a farmer's agent, so that's where my network was, but we're 50-50 at this point. Unfortunately, because captive agents are given systems to use, they are a little more reluctant to buy into their own technology. And it's a little bit more of a mindset shift for them to really see the value in owning their own data and having full control of that process. The captive model, they give you these things. So there's a little bit of, well, why would I spend my own money when my company gives me this? But unfortunately, it doesn't compare. I've said this so many times. I wish that all these captive companies would stop hiring Salesforce to build their systems and would just go with ecosystems like Vertafore and others who only specialize in insurance technology. Because I have seen these platforms, I've used them, and they suck in comparison.
So do you find yourself having to get over some of that reluctance and trying to help them to recognize the captives and exclusives of like, this is not that scary. This is what happens, like trying to help them in that area it's more of an adoption issue than it is anything else, right?
Actually, I would say it's more of an investment issue. Like
okay. Yeah.
I don't think there's any secret that captive agencies are usually significantly smaller than independent, and not in all facets, but it's more difficult to grow a captive agency.
Yeah.
Now, I think that independent agencies are more difficult to own and operate. They neither is perfect, pick your poison.
Right.
But independent agencies tend to grow faster and they're a little bit larger. And they're more apt to invest in their business in tools that are going to help them for a long term. And I think it has something to do with mindset. A lot of people that are getting into the insurance industry, a lot of them start captive and go independent.
You hear that
people
a lot.
Start independent too, but it can be an entry point. So
yeah.
I think it's like the evolution of the business owner. You start as a producer, kind of in a captive, and then you evolve into a business owner, especially if you go independent, then you're more willing to look at it from a business perspective. Then it's like a cost investment mindset difference.
Sure. A couple more quick questions I want to get to before we wrap up a little bit. But you've been working with Agency Zoom for a while, and again, we appreciate it. I did not pay her to see any of those things that she said. But
no, I actually pay you guys. I'm an Orange partner, so we have to pay for contracts. People always think we get a kickback. I'm like, yeah, keep telling them, but no, it doesn't happen.
So, but again, there's a genuine love there. I could feel that and see that, and we love having you as a part of our ecosystem. And so my question to you would be, like, for the agents listening right now, whether they've been on Agency Zoom forever or they're never using it or thinking about it, what's a lesser known feature or lesser known thing that we don't necessarily even maybe talk about on our end that they should know about? Because I feel like I know it all, but I don't.
Yeah. Lesser known pieces. I think that the reporting piece of Agency Zoom is greatly overlooked.
Oh, wow.
And just from a general perspective of business owners, a lot of business owners aren't focused on their KPIs or key performance indicators, or even really know what those should be. So the reporting analytics in there is greatly overlooked. The other pieces, one of my favorite things, I was on another podcast recently, I was asked my favorite type of automation, and I love video automation.
Yeah.
I don't know if many people know this, but you can embed videos into like your emails and things like that through
that's awesome.
With Loom or YouTube. And those really stand out. They grab people's attention. They're different. They're still just, you don't see them. I mean, go into your own inbox and your promotions and stuff, and look, you probably have nothing with a video in it. So that is a really cool piece.
So it plays in the video, in the email, it'll play?
Yeah. Like just like a GIF, like if you open an email and there's a GIF, so like I could be waving and you could see that, you click on it and then it plays the video. Actually, it doesn't even play the video in the email. It opens a beautifully designed site page with the video embedded with it, and that's built into Agency Zoom. And
I like that. You just taught me something I didn't know.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
She could teach everybody many things about Agency Zoom that they don't know.
Exactly.
I actually got to teach at the Vertafore headquarters in Denver when you guys bought Agency Zoom.
Yeah,
that
is awesome.
Really fun. The other thing, though, from a data perspective, I want to make sure I mention this too, is the opportunities and the quote section. And these are one of these adaption things that producers want to move quick, and so they don't find value in it. But if you put in, when you're talking to a prospect and you find out they have insurance with a certain carrier and you find out their premium and their X date, and you don't put that somewhere that's usable later, you are just shooting yourself in the foot, and you're creating you're a need to market a lot more than you would have to. The information, the ability to go back to that, especially think about this hard market we just came out of, where carriers were jumping out of states, non-renewing. I mean, this stuff is still happening. People are still non-renewing
100%.
All over the country. If you were an agent in California, when State Farm stopped writing home insurance there, if you had documented everyone you talked to that had State Farm home insurance, you can pull a list in seconds. Boom, you have a hot prospect list just from the day-to-day. So I think the opportunities, the quotes, and that video piece, they're very, very underutilized.
Awesome. What is the one piece of advice that you would leave agents with right now that are listening when it comes to automating their business or growing their tech stack or all of the wonderful things you've talked about? What is that one piece of advice that you could leave people with?
Those are a lot of topics to pick one piece of advice.
Okay, well then give me 5. I don't care. It's your world, girl. I'm just living in it.
Right. I think that a piece of advice that I would like to have people hear more is that there is a lot more value in the data in your business than you realize. People are very worried about premium on the books, which is important, but if you think about the sheer amount of data that you are collecting, do you have a trampoline, right? Like what policies do you have at their places? You're talking about their health. There is so many services and products in the insurance space that can be sold to your clients if you really make it important to you and your team to document this data in a way that's usable and not on a scratch pad or in a note on your email calendar, something you can actually search and utilize. You would be able to reduce your marketing costs by at least half.
Wow. That's awesome. You and I have gotten to see each other at various events and hang out in Vegas recently, and I can tell you, audience that's listening, like Mariah's the real deal. Like seeing you with your clients, so many clients of yours that would have been there that came like hugged you, like thank you for this, and like seeing those real moments happen. That's a special thing for me as your friend to see, but it's got to be cool for you. So if you do ever want to reach out and learn more, and like the people you meet for the first time, you'd have thought they were your best friends forever. Like you have this way about you, so I think it's super cool. So thank you for that. But if they want to get in touch with you, like what's the best way? Would it be your website? It would be LinkedIn? Like where would be the best place for people to find you?
Yeah, I personal goal is to be on social media less because I'm telling you, I get sucked into it. I want to answer every question everybody posts about anything that I know stuff about. It's just kind of nature. So don't do social media.
Okay.
But my website, acceleratedautomation.net, is the best place to go. And you can schedule meetings and see all of our products and services. We're very transparent, so everything is there.
Love that. So don't find her on social. Find her on her website. I'm sure.
Like you'll find me there, but I'm trying to.
No, I get that. Yeah. So
don't perpetuate her. This is not good.
Help her. Help her. Help you. Help me. Help you. Help her. Again, thank you for being here and hanging out with us and educating us and educating me. Even I learned something I didn't know about videos and emails with us. So thank you. And then to my VIPs listening and watching this, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of our program. Thank you for engaging with us, emailing with us. Guys, subscribe to the show, like it, all the things, and we will see you on the next one.